signed up with her business to just get my business evaluated just to see if what it was at. In full transparency, at the time I had about like 30 grand sitting in the bank. And like for me, that was, I'm like, cool, 30 grand. Like I'll walk away with that and be good to go. So they did my business evaluation and came back and they evaluated my business at almost 300,000, which I would have never in a million gazillion years have thought that. And I was just like shocked. I was like, are you sure about that? And so from there I was like, okay, well, let's see if we can do it. Let's go.
Kaila, super excited to share your story, your exit story of how you sold your business, your design business. But before we get there, I want to give our viewers a little background. How did you get into the world of design? Talk to us a bit about your career path and then the point in which you decided to launch your own business.
Yeah, so I consider myself one of the lucky few people that have always known what I wanted to do. From a young age, I was always a very creative person. I like had my sewing machine. I would sew outfits for my little sisters. I always had my big arts and crafts center. That's always kind of just been in my DNA as a creative person. So in high school, I was actually the editor of my yearbook. And my teacher at the time was like, have you ever heard of graphic design? This seems like something you're good at. You should look into it. And I didn't even really realize that that was a career path. So I ended up going to Ferris State, which is a school here in Michigan, for graphic design. And the reason I picked that college is they are one of the only colleges in the United States that places their graphic design program in the College of Business rather than in the College of Arts. So from a very early setup, when I look back now, obviously at the time I didn't know I was going to start a business, but I definitely think the foundation was being laid very early on. So instead of taking drawing classes, I was taking marketing classes and accounting. So it was nice because I got the creativity, but I also got that business aspect. So I graduated from college. I had an internship at one of the top design agencies here in the Midwest. I was working with big brands like Georgia Pacific and Target, all of those. From an intern, got hired. I thought I was going to lead the corporate lifestyle. I was going to work myself up the ladder. I was going to be a junior designer, then a senior, and then a creative director. I lasted about a year in the corporate world. I actually ended up jumping to a different agency that was pretty similar, thinking maybe I just don't like this agency I'm at. Well, it turned out I just didn't like the office 9 to 5 environment, like many of us entrepreneurs out there. However, in my school or just in general, like freelancing and starting your own business wasn't really something that was taught to us. So me starting my business, I like to say, is kind of a happy accident, but not really. I mean, we're business owners, we get it. So I kind of just out of necessity started freelancing on the side because I felt so creatively unfulfilled in my agency job. I was doing the grunt work, not working with brands that excited me. At the time, I had 2 doxies. I now have 3, which is where the name Dox Design comes from. So I told myself, since I am having no creative fun at all at my job, what would be something that'd be like dream client that I love, which was dogs. So if you can't tell by my background, I'm a huge dog person. So I started freelancing on the side with dog companies. I reached out to my dog groomer, to the pet store I shopped at. And what I didn't realize at the time what I was doing was I was niching down and creating a brand for myself, which is what got me to my business of being able to sell, which we're going to get into. But at the time I was niching down and people thought that was so interesting. Like, what do you mean? You like only work with dog businesses and you're like a dog person and you get us? So it very quickly, this like fun freelancing thing on the side kind of started to spiral out of control. And I was making more money freelancing than I was at my full-time job. So, like every entrepreneur does, I bought my house, got married, and quit my job and launched my business all in the same weekend. It's a busy week for me that week. I filed for an LLC and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do this. Like, it's working. We're gonna like actually take this seriously, get this like LLC started, open up a business bank account. And from there, I was able to grow Dox.
Amazing. That is
Yeah.
so awesome. I love that. As a a marketer by background, I love the fact that you niched down and really focused on, your people, right?
Yeah.
The folks that you connect with. So I do share that with you. I'm also a dog person. I've had up to 4 dogs at a time
Oh,
at
yep.
one point, just two now.
Yep.
So that's fantastic. So talk about those early days at Dox Design, and
Yeah.
then talk about how you grew the business. You had the business going on close to 7 years total. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So started my business in 2016. Like I said, that was really the turning point. I would say for like maybe the first year, I was kind of just considering myself a freelancer. But then at that point was when I decided to like take it seriously and actually start to build out a brand. So instead of just doing it under my own name, I like invested, in creating my own brand and the website. I actually hired a business coach right off the bat, which a lot of people do not do. That was something that I thought was important to invest in myself. I had no idea about processes and documentation and like that business side of things. And I also hired an employee almost right away, just because I very quickly realized that I was good at the sale and marketing side of thing, and that the design work was actually not what I really liked to do. I like to do the creative directing. I like to talk with the clients. I like to learn their story. I like to then tell a designer how to visually create that and kind of direct that whole process. So very quickly, I was able to find a designer to help me grow the business and kind of take on the design work. And I was still doing design work at that point. So it was like double being able to take on clients. So that first year, I was able to grow the business pretty quickly by just bringing on that other employee, just more output. I then really focused on like actual documentation of processes and establishing some signature services. So what I was seeing, I had no problem getting clients because I niched down and the dog community is crazy and like everyone knows everyone. So as soon as I did a good job on one brand and got my foot in the door, it was kind of like word of mouth went crazy. But what I was noticing was that other designers were just charging hourly, or they're like, we can do whatever. And a lot of people who aren't in the design space, design can be a very ambiguous thing. It's a little intimidating if you're not a creative person, you don't really know what to ask for. So I packaged my services in a way where it was like I was telling clients like this is what you need, not like tell me and like we'll figure it out. So we had two signature services at that point. Our signature brand, which was we completely rebrand you, which was our starting point for everyone. And then I had a subscription model base part of my website or of my brand, which was ongoing design work. So it was like, I know from doing this that people need a brand and then they need to rebrand all these things. So instead of me being like, yeah, we'll take on a business card, we'll take on a postcard, I then upsell the service of now come to us at a reoccurring rate every month and we're going to be your team of designers. We created your brand anyways. We know who you are. We know your brand inside and out. So just keep trusting with our team. So that kind of second part of like starting to actually establish and package the services and start to think of like that sales cycle and like how long I could keep a client coming back to us was definitely another big, I could see growth part in our business. Once I introduced that design day reoccurring service, like 40-50% of our clients that we did for branding would sign on to that. And I wasn't having to hustle so hard to try to find new clients all the time. It's easier to sell to existing clients. So when I was able to do that, I was then able to hire two more designers and kind of just keep bumping up the brand. So that definitely helped a lot. And then kind of the last piece of the puzzle, as I started hiring more employees, I started realizing how difficult the project management side of thing is to like keep track. We were up to doing like 6-7 brands at a time, having like 10-12 design day clients reoccurring. Like we were looking at almost like 20 clients a month. So I thought it was really important to document those processes. So I actually invested in another coach that helped with automation and documentation, which is 100% why my business was evaluated at what I did. And majority of the assets that I sold in my business was that documentation. I meticulously documented every single step with videos, links, templates of each part of our process of how I hired a designer, how I trained a designer, how we talked to clients on each of our calls, what the steps were for our services, how we answered certain questions, certain troubleshooting that would come up again and again in clients. And I just like documented like a bad person.
That is music to my ears. I love
Yeah.
that, Kayla. Truly, truly, because I meet so many entrepreneurs who get to a point in their business, 5, 6 years in, and it's even if they have employees, it's still in their head. And so I'm always singing, like, just screencast it, flip on the screencast software and just start talking. You can figure out how you organize all of it later if need be, but yeah, so many people do not do that. And so it sounds like that was a big part of being able to position the company to sell. So let's get into that. Number one, when you started the business, obviously you started, on the side while you still were at the agency. At what point did you think, Kayla, hey, I think I may want to sell this? Or was that on your mind at
Never.
all? Never.
Never.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
was going, I'm sure the person who put us in contact,
Yeah.
so Magnolia Firm is actually who I ended up working with. I'm sure they told you the story. I was going to give away my business. I'm not sure if she
Yeah.
told you
She
this.
did. She
Yeah.
did.
So I thought I was going to run Docs forever. What ended up being a changing point for me was I had a huge life change. I had my daughter. So, I think very quickly I had a really rough pregnancy. So I think I very quickly realized in that this was not going to be sustainable. I was not going to be able to like work as much as I would, and someone had to be at the helm of it. I had things going great with my employees and things, but I was the sales and marketing person. So I had tried to outsource that a couple times. It just had never worked for me. I never found a person that quite was as passionate about my business as I am. So I just was like, I don't know if this is ever going to work. It was, very stressful. I had had an employee at the time who had maybe expressed interest in stepping up and doing it, but she was a little nervous because she never ran a business before. So it was almost like she was kind of just telling me what I wanted to hear. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to walk away with what I have in the bank, and I maybe we'll just let her take over all the clients as like a freelancer on her end and just let her dissolve the brand, do what we need to do. I was actually at a conference doing speaking, and a couple of my clients were there who just so happened that it was like fate. This like group of girls that I went up to speak with, all three of them had sold the business. Two were
Mm,
product based, one was service based, and of the three, two had used Christine for Magnolia Firm.
yeah.
So I was talking to them, because I was like in full transparency, guys, like they were all moms. I was like, how the hell are we doing this? Like, I don't know how we're doing this. I was like, I'm about to step away. And my one client like shook me. She's like, no, what are you doing? She's like, I need to put you in contact with Christine, like just to have a conversation with her, like just see. So, I was like, I don't really have anything to lose. Sure, whatever. So I had a conversation. I signed up with her business to just get my business evaluated just to see if what it was at. In full transparency, at the time, I had about like 30 grand sitting in the bank. And like for me, I'm like, cool, 30 grand. Like I'll walk away with that and be good
Yeah.
to go.
Yeah.
So they did my business evaluation and came back and they evaluated my business at almost 300,000, which I would have never in a million gazillion years have thought that. And I was just like shocked. I was like, are you sure about that? And so from there I was like, okay, let's see if we can do it. Let's
Yeah.
go.
Awesome. That's amazing. Love it. Okay. So let's get into that process. So you had the evaluation, you've got really clean systems and documentation, which again, I'm sure really, really helped with that valuation. What did the process look like from there, at that engagement with Christine? And
Yeah.
anything you would have done differently, Kayla, in,
Yeah.
in this process?
So it went really fast, like way faster than I thought. It was like, whoa, let's hit the ground running. So the great thing about hiring Christine and like that firm was they took a lot of the grunt work out. I kind of just had to show up and like talk to the potential buyers. So, I did an interview with Christine, gave her all the information about my brand, like who my ideal person would be to take over. They went ahead and wrote like ad copy for me. They went and did the listing and the sales of bringing in potential buyers. I would say like within like a week, 2 weeks, I had like 4 or 5 calls of people who were interested. We ended up having 3 LOIs. So letter of intent. I had no idea what that meant at the time. So I will be like yesterday. This is my first time doing this process. I was like, okay, cool. So I met with 4 or 5 people on the call. Of those, 3 ended up putting in letter of intent. One was full offer, but it was contingent on a small business loan. One was a little bit under asking price, but for full cash, quick turnaround. And for me, I was like, I want to get out of this as soon as I can. Like, I don't want to like be dragging this on, especially because we were looking at towards the end of the year. I was like, ideally, if I could wrap this all up by December and just like walk away, that'd be great. So I ended up accepting the LOI for the lower offer, quick turnaround. Unfortunately, that deal ended up falling through, which is part of the process. So I had initially wanted to go with I felt good about it. It's funny though, because I look back at it and I actually did like the people who ended up taking my business over better. It was just hard because they were contingent on this SBA loan. It was a very long red tape process. And we'll get into this a little bit. A government shutdown ended up happening in the middle of this as well. So it was like a whole thing. I'm happy it happened the way it did. Very quickly too, it happened, and Christine was like on it. She was like, "Don't worry, we have backup offers. Like, we're gonna get you full price now. We're not going for like someone with just quick." So we ended up going back to that initial offer, and they were like really cool about it. I was really nervous. I was like, they're gonna hate me. I told them no, they're not gonna want to buy my business anymore. But they were like so cool about it. They were like, we totally understand. We know, we'll give you some good faith money if that helps. So they ended up giving me like a little percentage of like good faith money at the head of the time waiting for the loan to come through. So, we signed that, and it was really a waiting game at that point. They had to submit everything to the Small Business Association to get that loan approved. Right in the middle of this, there was talks of government shutdown happening. I actually ended up like not happening. It slowed things down a little bit. Anyways, like a month and a half went by, and finally they got the loan and the money got deposited, and I was like, I did it. I ended up signing on like a month training process with the new owners. So that was part of me closing the deals. I did have to stay on for a month and train them and be there to answer questions. I had initially signed on to do that for like 10 hours a week. I think we ended up only doing like 4 hours because I had everything documented so well. They were like, honestly, we don't really need you. Like, you documented everything so good. They just really wanted me to like do the handoff and facilitate to the new clients and kind of be there for that hand holding. But they retained my entire team, all my processes, my services, brand. They put a woman in charge, which was very important for me. And yeah, I mean, my clients are all like, oh my God, we love them. Like, we're so happy and they're being taken care of. And we actually have a working relationship now, because I had made the decision that I want to focus on education and speaking. That was something I'd always kind of done throughout Dox. As I did podcasts like these, I did speaking at conferences, and I really enjoy that, and I really want to lean into that and do more of that. So I now have my own personal brand. It's called Kaila Piepkow, your branding buddy, and I do speaking and education about entrepreneurship, branding, now, selling a business. And I send everyone and anyone who wants help with branding over to Dox. So it's nice because we still have a pretty good working relationship with them.
That's fantastic. All
Yeah.
right. So who purchased the company? Was it a like small business or a larger company?
It was a husband and wife, actually, which was
Okay.
what I loved about it because I had kind of fostered that atmosphere at Docs. We were very all close, buddy buddy. Like, we are friends with all the clients. It's very more like small business oriented. So it was a wife and husband who owned an ad and social media company, and they did photography on the side. So they actually offered that as tuner services now available through the agency, and are growing the branding side while offering other additional services to our clients.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And anything you would have done different, Kaila, throughout the process, or lessons learned,
Yeah,
advice you'd like to
honestly, I
share?
think I should have gone with my gut in the initial acceptance of the LOI. Like I said, the people who ended up buying my business, like, my gut told me that they would have been a better fit. And I kind of got blindsided in the process of like the close, 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 like take the faster one, go, 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 instead of really like sitting with it and thinking like, what's my gut telling me? Like, at them as people, I think I kind of got a little not greedy, but I just got like scared because I was like, I don't want this like, I don't want like something to happen. And I should have gone with my gut in the beginning and just gone with the original people we did. I mean, it all ended up working out for the best, and I think everything happens for a reason. So obviously, who has my business now, there's a reason for it. Like, we're friends. I text them. Like, I like that. I'm still very deeply invested in the business I grew. Whereas I think I would have gone with these other people who were capitalist venturists and they had bought multiple businesses. I think Docs may have even have gotten dissolved and they wouldn't have even really cared that much. So I think everything happens for a reason.
Fantastic. And
Yeah.
then I know you had some bumps in the road. So what was that total time frame between bringing in Christine's company and actually,
Yes. So I closed, got the money, was done in October. Me and my husband were actually in Switzerland on a vacation that we had planned for 3 years on top of a mountain when like we got the news. So it was a really special moment for us. I believe I hired Christine. I'm like looking at the calendar. I want to say it was July. So
okay.
July, August, September,
Like,
like 4 months. I think it was about a 4 months
yeah.
process overall. Yeah.
Yeah, with the hiccups and the
Yeah.
process. Yeah, that's amazing. That's awesome. So you're on a mountain with your
Yeah.
husband in Switzerland.
And our
Amazing.
daughter. Yeah.
And your daughter. What did it feel like the next day, Kaila? You wake up, the information is kind of sunk in. What was that feeling?
Oh my gosh, it was such a relief. I mean, I'm sure so many small business owners can relate that like for the past 6 years of me running Docs, there was a lot of really high highs, but also a lot of really low lows. Like there was moments I was like crying in my kitchen, like, can I pay my employees? Like, like it's just a lot. It's a big weight on your shoulder when you own a business like that and you have people depending on you for their income and you are the sole provider for all this and for your family. I was, the breadwinner for a while there. So, it was stressful. So I felt a huge relief the next day. I think I still am like fully processing it. Like people all the time are like, oh my God, you sold a business before 30. Like, oh my God, like this is crazy. And like, I don't think I even like comprehend how big of a deal that is that I did that. Like most businesses go out of business within the first 5 years. Like, and just being able to do that, especially in a field like design, where there is so many designers, so many creatives who can like barely make it. So I honestly think I'm still processing it. Obviously, it was an awesome feeling to be able to do that. I now have money set aside for my daughter's college. I was able to pay off my student loans. We were able to like renovate our bathroom. That's awesome to be able to like have the financial support to do all that. And it really makes me look back at the 6 years of all those low lows and be like, okay, it was worth it. It was all for something.
Awesome. I love it. Any other advice that comes to mind for folks that, are thinking like, hey, maybe I do want to do this someday.
Yeah, well, hit me up so I can get you in contact with Christine of Magnolia Firm. I actually like sent like three of my friends' businesses that way because like I think there are a lot of people, especially women, who like to downplay their own success just because us as women do that. And like I said, like I was going to just give my business away. I didn't even think I had anything. And it's because I didn't know any better. I didn't even know there was like an option to get your business evaluated. I didn't know that was like a service people offered. And what I love about Christine is she's women owned, which is awesome. And she didn't feel like she was like trivializing my business. Like I had gotten a couple men in the space were like, oh, your cute little dog business. So fun. Your little hobby that you got going on the side. I'm like, yeah, that just raked in $500,000 last year.
Yeah.
Such a cute little hobby,
Yeah.
So I think that was really nice to be able to have Christine and feel validated and like have her be like, no, you have a badass business and this is what it's worth. And like her whole team is mostly women. So I just thought that was amazing. So if anything, just get your business evaluated. It's not that much, and the fee that they do it gets put towards their success fee at the end. So it's really like a win-win situation. Like if they don't sell your business, you get that back, sort of thing. So there's really no risk in it, and like just see what potentially you have worth. And maybe it's not what you want, and then you can work towards that and have that goal in mind, which I think is awesome.
Love it. Kaila, thank you so much for your time and sharing
Yeah,
your story. I know it will go on to inspire others. So
awesome.
really, really appreciate you being open and honest and sharing your experience.
Yeah, well, thank you for doing this. I think this is great.